I made 2.3 million last year and I never once asked someone to buy from me. In fact, most of my clients don't even realize they're in a sales conversation until they're already saying yes. Now look, I'm Jason James and today I'm going to show you how to make sales completely invisible, how to guide prospects to close themselves without them ever feeling like they're being sold to in the first place. Now, I know what you're thinking, Jason, that sounds impossible. It's not. As a former psychiatric nurse, I learned the most powerful decisions people make are the ones they think they made themselves. And when you understand that psychology, you can literally create what I call the invisible sales, okay? Where the prospect convinces themselves to buy before you've even mentioned your product. Now, by the end of this video, you'll never have to worry about being a pushy closer ever again. Because when you master the invisible sale, prospects literally ask you how they can work with you. Let me ask you something. How do you feel when you know someone is trying to close you? Your guard goes up, right? You start looking for reasons to say no. You feel pressured, manipulated, maybe even just a little bit violated, right? And that's because traditional sales techniques and closing techniques trigger what psychologists call psychological reactance. When someone feels their freedom to choose is being threatened, they automatically resist. Think about the classic closes you've been taught. If I could show you a way to solve this problem, would you be interested? Or what would it take for you to move forward today? Or my personal favorite, are you ready to get started? Now, these techniques might have worked 20 years ago, but today's buyers are too sophisticated for that. And they can smell a close coming from a mile away. And the moment they do, their brain switches into defense mode, much like you might have done before. Now look, here's what I learned in my nursing days that changed everything. In psychiatry, we never told patients what to do. We couldn't. We had no help. We just basically had to help them make informed choices about their treatment. We couldn't tell them to do stuff. And the patients who made the best decisions were the ones who felt like they came to the conclusion themselves. And the same principle applies in sales. The best sales are the ones where the prospect feels like they were buying into the idea, into their idea, in fact, not yours. So what exactly is an invisible sale? It's when you guide a prospect through a decision-making process so naturally that they don't realize they're being influenced. They think they're just having a conversation, exploring options, getting advice. But underneath it, you're using psychological principles to help them reach a logical conclusion that your solution is right for them. This works because of something called the illusion of choice. When people feel like they're in control of a decision, they're much more likely to follow through on it. But when they feel like someone else is making the decision for them, they resist. And here's the key insight. People don't buy products or services. They buy better versions of themselves. They buy becoming the person they'll become after the problem is solved. So instead of selling your solution, you help them fall in love with their transformed future self. Now, let me show you exactly how this works with a real example from my own business. Last month, I had a call with a prospect. Let's call her Sarah. She booked a call because she was struggling to scale her consulting business. She was making about 200 grand a year, working 70 hours a week, and couldn't seem to break through to that next level. Now, most salespeople would have immediately started pitching business coaching or something like that. But I did something completely different. I started asking her about her vision. Sarah, if we fast forward 18 months and everything's gone perfectly with your business, what does life look like? She lit up. She started talking about having a team, working 40 hours a week, taking proper holidays with her family, maybe even writing a book. I could see her getting emotionally invested in this vision. Catch my drift? Then I asked, what would it mean to you personally to achieve that? How would you feel about yourself? Now, she's not just thinking about business metrics here. She's thinking about identity. She said she'd feel proud and accomplished, like she'd finally proven to herself that she could build something significant. And then next I asked her, what do you think is currently preventing you from having that life? Now, this is where the magic happens. Instead of telling me what her problems are, she started diagnosing herself. She said she didn't have systems. She was doing everything herself. She didn't know how to hire and delegate properly. Then I asked her, if you don't solve these issues, where do you see yourself in 18 months? her whole energy shifted. She said she'd probably be in the same place, maybe even more burnt out, and possibly having to shut down the business because she couldn't sustain the pace. See, and now I've created what I call emotional contrast. She can clearly see the difference between where she is and where she wants to be. And look, and she's done all the work herself. I then said, Sarah, based on everything you just told me, it sounds like you have two choices. You can continue doing what you're doing and hope things change, or you can invest in getting the systems and knowledge you need to build the business that you described. What feels right to you? She said, I need to invest in getting help, and I can't keep doing this alone. I never mentioned my program once. I never pitched anything. It just helped her reach the logical conclusion that she needed to invest in solving her problem. Only then did I say, I might be able to help you with that. Let me tell you about what I do, and let's see if it's the right fit. By the time I explained my program, she was already sold on the idea of investing. The conversation became about whether my specific solution was right for her, not whether she should invest at all, because she'd already sold herself on that. She enrolled on my program £12,000 that day, and 6 months later, she hit her first £50,000 a month without doing 70 hours a week. Now, let me break down the exact framework I use to create the invisible sales, and I call it the GUIDE method, okay? The G stands for get their vision. The first step is to get them to articulate their ideal future. Ask questions like, if everything goes perfectly, what does success look like for you? Or paint me a picture of your ideal situation. You see, the key is to make it vivid and emotional. Don't just ask about business metrics. Ask about how they'll feel, what their life will be like, and what will it mean to them personally. The U stands for uncover the next gap. Okay, uncover the gap next. You need to help them identify what's currently preventing them from having the ideal future. Ask, what do you think is stopping you from achieving that? Or what would you need to change to get you there? Let them diagnose their own problems. When they tell you what's wrong, they're much more invested in fixing it, and it's much more better for them to do that than for you to tell them. Okay. The I next stands for intensify the consequences. This is where you help them understand what happens if they don't solve the problem. Ask them, if nothing changes, where do you see yourself in 12 months? Or what's the cost of you staying where you are right now? You're creating fear. You're helping them see that the natural consequences of inaction are not going to be cool for them. The D stands for develop the decision. Now you help them reach the logical conclusion that they need to invest to solve their problem. Say something like, based on everything you've told me, what do you think your next step should be? Often they'll say something like, I need to get help, or I need to invest in a solution. You see, they're already closing themselves. And the E stands for explore the fit. Only after they've decided that they need to invest do you explore the solution that might be the right fit for them. Say, I might be able to help you with that. Let me tell you what I do, and let's see if it makes sense. Now you're not selling to them. You're not selling on the idea of buying. You're just selling them on determining if your specific solution matches their self-diagnosed need. Now, the beauty of this framework is that by the time you mention your product or service, they've already convinced themselves that they need to buy something, right? Whether it's you or not, they need to buy something. The only question is whether your solution is the right one or not. Now, here are a few advanced techniques to make your invisible sales even more powerful. Number one, the assumption close. Instead of asking, would you like to move forward? Assume they've already decided and ask, what questions do you have about getting started? This presupposes that they're going to move forwards and get started with you. They just need the details, right? The next one is the consultant position. Position yourself as their consultant, not their salesperson. Say things like, based on what you've told me, here's what I'd recommend. Now you're giving advice, not making a pitch, right? The next one is what I call the reluctant expert. Sometimes you've got to pull back slightly. I'm not sure this is the right fit for you because, see where I'm going with this? It just removes the pressure and often makes them want to convince you why they're actually a good fit. Then we've got the future pace. Help them experience what their future success is like. Imagine it's 12 months from now and you've solved this problem. How does it feel? Now, when they can feel the success, they're invested into making it turn into a real thing. And then next we have the logical conclusion. Instead of pushing them to make a decision, help them reach it logically. So if I understand you correctly, you want X, you're currently experiencing Y, and the gap is Z. What do you think makes the most sense? You see, the goal here, remember, isn't to trick them into buying. It's to help them to make a clear, informed decision about whether your solution is the right one for them. When you remove the pressure and give them control, they'll often sell to themselves. Now, here's the biggest mistakes I see salespeople making when they're trying to use invisible sales techniques. Mistake number one, rushing the process. Look, you can't skip steps. Even if you try to move to the solution before they're fully bought into the problem, it won't work. Mistake number two, making it about you. The invisible sale is about them, their vision, their problems, their decision. The moment you make it about your product, the spell is broken, right? Mistake number three, not being genuine. If you're just using these as manipulation tactics, people will sense it. They're not stupid. You have to genuinely care about helping them make the right decision. And mistake number four is forgetting to actually present your solution. Some people get so good at the invisible part that they forget to explain how they can help. Once they've decided they need to invest, you still need to show them why your solution is the best. So product knowledge is very, very important. Make sure you position your product. And mistake number five, using it with everyone. Look, not every prospect needs the invisible approach. Some people are ready to buy and they just want the details. Read the situation and adapt accordingly. Don't be cookie cutter. So there you have it, my friends. How to close without closing using the invisible sale. Get their vision, uncover the gap, intensify the consequences, develop the decision, explore the fit. And when you master this approach, your selling becomes effortless. You're not pushing people to buy, you're helping them discover what they already know they need. But here's the thing. As you know, knowing these techniques and implementing them correctly are two different things. It takes practice to master the tonality, the timing, and the authenticity that makes the invisible sales work. And that's exactly what I teach in my Closing Incubator program. It's a 12-week intensive where I hold your hand and I take you through every aspect of consultative selling, including extensive role-play sessions where you can practice these exact techniques until they become second nature. Now look, I've used invisible sales to generate over 22 million plus in revenue, and my clients have generated over 200 million using these exact same methods. The best part? They never have to feel pushy or manipulative because they're genuinely helping people make better decisions. Now, if you want to master the art of invisible sales, if you want to close more deals without ever feeling like you're selling, comment invisible below, and I'll send you my complete invisible sales playbook. It includes exact questions and frameworks that I use in every single sales conversation. And if you're truly, truly serious and committed about transforming your sales approach, if you want the complete system with live coaching, practice sessions, all that stuff, working with me directly, then let's have a conversation about the Closing Incubator. Because remember, look, the best sales are often the ones that don't feel like sales at all. And when you help people to buy instead of selling to them, everybody wins. So comment invisible below. And let me show you how to make every sale feel effortless and natural.